Maiduguri, the capital of Borno State, is providing refuge to over 1 million displaced people. And as the Nigerian army regains control of the main towns and some villages in the state, more and more people continue to arrive.
Malnutrition is so rampant in Maiduguri because of the presence of the insurgents Boko Haram. This has stopped people from cultivating crops. They haven't been going to their farms for quite some time. This resulted in shortage of food and subsequently malnutrition kicked in as a result of food scarcity.
Health facilities in Maiduguri are overwhelmed, unable to cope with the medical needs of the city's residents as well as the displaced and patients transferred from other towns in Borno such as Bama and Dikwa.
We are continuously piling up people who have been discharged, but we have got nowhere to take them. We can't take them back to Bama, we can't take them back to Dikwa because the situation there is catastrophic.
Recaptured in recent months, some of these towns were held by Boko Haram for 2 years. Security remains high, but MSF teams are able to travel to them under army escort. For example, to Bama, the second largest town in the state, where the mortality rate exceeds the emergency threshold. 15% of children in Bama are suffering from severe acute malnutrition.
Behind me, as you see here, is a graveyard where they buried the mortality cases. Most of the cases died because of hunger and lack of water, and then followed by lack of medicine. Before the NGOs will intervene, no helping hands.
Grouped together on the hospital premises, Bama's inhabitants are lacking everything.
Les interventions sur ces sites sont absolument essentielles parce qu'il y a un très grand nombre de personnes qui sont vraiment sur le fil. C'est-à-dire que s'ils n'ont pas un acte d'assistance et notamment d'assistance médicale immédiat, eh ben leur survie à très court terme, à quelques heures, quelques jours, est menacée. Des cas comme ça, il y en a des milliers, voire des dizaines de milliers sur les 500 000 à 800 000 personnes qui sont placées dans cette situation-là sur une vingtaine de sites dans l'état de Borno.
While aid and emergency medical care is now getting through to some towns in Borno State, other places are still totally inaccessible.
Les quelques personnes que l'on voit sortir nous rapportent d'énormes difficultés pour trouver de la nourriture et une insécurité qui continue. Et on n'a pas accès à ces populations, on n'a aucune idée combien ils sont. Mais voilà, on pense que les conditions peuvent être très dures et qu'à un moment ou à un autre, on aura accès, on espère, à ces populations-là.
Some of those who managed to escape the conflict have sought refuge across the border in Cameroon. MSF teams there are treating the wounded, providing mother and child health care and offering mental health support too.
Boko Haram militants hit and killed people by cutting their throats. As soon as they arrived, they started killing people, slitting their throats and making women and children watch as they did so. They killed anyone over the age of 15, men and women.
MSF is scaling up its activities to help the people of Borno State. Water, food, medical care and shelter. For hundreds of thousands of people, the needs are huge. Aya has already lived through at least one Israeli offensive, and she has only ever known Gaza under blockade. 5 months ago, she suffered second and third degree burns.
It was 7 o'clock in the morning. We'd made tea for breakfast. We were sitting on the balcony and she dropped the teapot, spilling boiling water all over her body and face.
Aya is better now, but here in this stricken land, domestic accidents are only too common, and victims join the long list of people wounded during the 2014 conflict and who still require treatment.
من التحديات طبعاً اللي هي الاحتلال والحصار.
Occupation and the embargo are the main causes of the challenges we face to provide medical services.
الخدمات الصحية الموجودة في قطاع غزة
They create a lack of drug and medical supplies and constant power cuts. And people also start messing around with electricity cables and alternative energy sources, which results in an increase in the number of burns victims that we then need to treat.
أدت إلى زيادة في حالات الحروق الموجودة في أطباء بلا حدود.
In Gaza, MSF runs 3 post-operative care clinics and regularly deploys surgeons for reconstructive surgery programs for the victims of war and the embargo. Hepatitis C is a chronic disease affecting, among others, injecting drug users and people living with HIV. Transmitted through the blood, slowly but surely it attacks the liver and causes fibrosis, a scarring of the organ that prevents it from functioning properly. Severely affected patients develop cirrhosis of the liver and frequently require a transplant. A few years ago, the only available treatment had to be taken for 1 whole year, cost €25,000 and caused numerous side effects, and even then, only half of patients recovered. Now, a far more positive alternative exists, a new class of drugs called direct-acting antivirals. One of them, sofosbuvir, has almost no side effects, reduces the risk of relapse significantly and needs to be taken for just 12 weeks, with a cure rate of 95%. Its price is the only snag. It costs around €100 to manufacture a course of sofosbuvir treatment. Yet in the US, it costs almost $100,000 to treat 1 patient. Simply put, the price of a gram of sofosbuvir costs 67 times more than a gram of gold. In France, treating everyone suffering from the disease would exceed the budget required to fund all of Paris's hospitals. The price of the drug depends on the agreement reached with Gilead, the pharmaceutical company that produces it. In 91 countries, sofosbuvir is supposed to be available in its generic form, but these countries only account for half of the people with the disease. Most of the worst affected countries do not have the benefit of a licensing agreement between Gilead and generic manufacturers, which would give them access to the drug at a cheaper price. In countries where Gilead has reached an agreement, pretexting the fight against the resale of drugs, it imposes draconian measures. The company has, for example, access to personal information, including the name and address of each patient, which it can use as it sees fit. Yet another consequence of the pharmaceutical company's pricing policy is that the drug is subject to rationing. In France, instead of providing treatment to all those who need it, it is prescribed only to those with advanced liver fibrosis. But treating all patients would eradicate the reservoir of the disease, which would mean no more patients, no more virus, and no more contagion. If it were accessible to all those who need it, sofosbuvir could potentially eradicate the disease.